Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talks special, The Haunting of Hill House Aftershow. On a normal episode, we would, of course, review and discuss one horror film in great detail. But for this series of, well, this is the last episode of 10 or maybe 11 episodes. I think there will probably be an episode after this. We will be having an opinionated and accidentally funny discussion on each episode of The Haunting of Hill House. Your expert hosts each day...
Each episode
are Dr. Bryce Hanson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day. That's me, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. So with no further ado, here we go to the final episode, episode 10, titled Silence Lay Steady, of The Haunting of Hill House. We will we'll give you a brief synopsis of this episode, and then we will just get right into it. As I mentioned, this is the final episode of the series. It ties everything together. We finally get a good long look into the Red Room and also into kind of everybody's psyche, and this is what ties it all together. So without further ado, let's get into spoilers.
Spoilers.
So this episode starts out with Shirley going up to the red door, and Theo is already inside, and they are kids. They're little kids. Theo's dancing along. She's like doing her little dance deal, and Shirley and her sister Nell are trying to get in. And this brings us back to, I think, the very first episode when the two little girls are trying to get in there, and then maybe the third episode when we learn that Theo is within, and she's, oh geez, there's somebody fucking jerking this doorknob.
Yeah, we start seeing the explanation for the red door, where it's a different room for everyone.
Right.
And so we see all the past scenes in previous episodes where each of the kids have kind of their safe space. And
right.
How every time that they are kind of haunted in that room, it ends up being one of their family members trying to get in.
Yes. It's a brilliant mechanic.
Yeah.
Because throughout the series, you get the spooks, and you see, oh, fuck, there's shadows under the door. There's people walking around on the other side. And, oh, God, what is going on? And then you get the explanation for it at the end. And the explanation for it is much less terrifying.
Yeah.
Although, strangely, pretty terrifying. Like,
yeah,
in a room that no one can seem to get into, and it allows people to go in. It's like... You get to go into this room according to the room. Like, the room determines whether or not you get to go in. So, anyway. And then we skip forward to the present, where Stephen is having a...
It shows Stephen and Hugh arriving at Hill House after Luke was there, and they smell like the gas. And then they go up to the door... And then it cuts to supposedly future after all this happened, and it's Stephen writing the sequel to, his blockbuster Hill House book to wrap it up with what we're waiting to be shown to us. Yes.
Yeah, my apologies. That's right. So they had entered the house already, which is why Stephen has this vision. That is, the vision is... Well, it's not clear whether or not it's a vision. Right at this moment in the show, you're like, oh, this is just the future now. And he's discussing with his wife his ability to ride. And
then his wife takes a real turn. Oh, yeah, also have to mention that his wife is pregnant.
Right.
Which is...
Pregante.
Interesting. And
am I Pargant?
And she's Pargant. Pregat. And she... all of a sudden takes this turn of oh, well, that's what you do, Stephen. You take everyone's misery and you form it into commerce for your own enjoyment.
Right.
It's exactly what you do.
And he's like...
You're like a parasite.
He's kind of like, what, bitch?
Wait a minute.
Wait, you're my
taking a real turn.
You're my loving wife, I thought. And she's like...
Am I pregnant?
She's just confused whether or not she's pregnant. Yeah, and you kind of do a double take because she's saying it in this kind of like sing-songy, like la 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 kind of way, like you're such a bitch, and you turn other people's misery into your own commerce, blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, but like I thought, wait, we love each other though, right? Like, and then her stomach starts turning black, and you're like, oh, well, this isn't real. Like,
well, then also Steven says, like, I don't actually remember getting here or how you got pregnant or anything in between.
Right.
Like, it's kind of hard to write because I don't remember anything happening. And then you realize, like, oh, okay, this isn't actually happening.
Yeah.
You know?
I am pregnant last 5 weeks, so can I start sex?
Can I? Yeah, so quickly we kind of figure out, oh, this is a vision that Steven's having because the house. He's in the house. And the house...
He's inside the red room. Like, he makes it into the red room.
That's right.
While
that's
Hugh is, like, trying to... I don't remember what he's doing.
Like, looking at the fucking...
no, look at this windowsill over here.
Look at this windowsill, and then I'll just kind of... And Steven's like, hey, here's Luke, and he's like, Steve, no! And Steve walks in the room, in the house is like, hey, get out of here, Hugh. You're not...
And then Hugh gets infected with the black oil from X-Files. Well,
right.
Not really, but he just starts getting infected by tendrils of black over his body.
What's the black oil from X-Files? I'm trying to remember.
It's like, it's part of the...
Was that part of the smoking
The
man?
conspiracy stuff that doesn't quite make sense when you look at it as a whole.
Okay, this is the overarching shit storyline?
Yeah, it's like one of the alien species has some kind of oil thing in them. I can't remember.
Do you remember the X-Files movie? I think it was like 97.
Yeah.
Was that a fucking wacky movie?
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
They ended up in Antarctica with some bees chasing them or something like that.
No, I thought that was the second one.
Oh,
the first
there was a second one?
Yeah, there's 2 X-Files movies. Wow. One was while the series was going on. Like there's a point in...
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking.
It's like the second to last season or something. It's between those seasons. And then David Duchovny he promptly fucks off. And then they made a movie like 10 years ago now, probably.
Oh, yeah. But when they restarted the series, I think that was...
No, they restarted the series just like a couple years ago, but they made a movie with like that was kind of great. It was like a Monster of the Week type of movie instead of like focusing on the conspiracy theory. Yeah, no, I was talking about the original movie. Yeah, I think they were in Antarctica and there were some bees. Yeah, there's something to do with that. So Hill House. We were just in our red room there for a second. Yeah, I just blanked, and now went to our happy place. I woke up. So Steve's wife completely wrecks him. He wakes up in the red room, and he's trying to save Luke, who seems to be he's foaming at the mouth because he has rat poison injected into his veins. That's right. Luke entered the room previously, and the house tricked him into believing that the rat poison was heroin. And let me just ask this: was it a mistake on the house's part to let Steve into the room and then the remaining children into the room to save Luke? Wouldn't it have been better to off them one by one? I don't know. Houses get greedy sometimes. You think this was... Yeah. Haunted houses can get real greedy. Do you think this is... If there's one aspect of haunted houses that I know about, is that they're very impatient. You think we can chalk this up to... Yeah, it's been sitting here for fucking 30 years, and now it's just like, I just can't wait to blow its load. Mm-hmm. It's just like,
oh. It's just like fucking. I just need all these kids in here so I can just fucking murder them all so fast. Oh yeah.
I mean, really, it seems like it can control whether you can enter or leave. So couldn't it, in reality, just close the door and not let them out, and then they'd all just die of hunger? Maybe that was its angle.
Yeah, I mean, so we are in agreement then that the house fucked up at some point.
No, I mean, it could have been a strategy. It could have been like, well, just get them all in here and they're trapped and they can't leave.
Yeah, but
and
then
they'll
they got
eventually
out.
die.
Yeah, but they got out.
Well,
let them out.
It wasn't accounting for Nell and their mom to be like angels. I think I said not angels of something.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah.
They're guardian angels. That's the word I was trying to think about.
I see where you're going. Okay. Well, in any event, Shirley and Theo show up to the house like in pretty quick succession.
Well, they're shown getting to the house, and then all of a sudden they're shown just in the room, like when Stephen wakes up. I think. No. Someone wakes up and they're there. Like.
No. Because Theo and Nell walk. Not Theo and Nell. Theo and Shirley walk into the house, and
Shirley sees the dude with the glass.
Shirley keeps seeing this handsome man who she has seen consistently throughout the series, and finally we get the answer to who this handsome man is with the glass who's cheersing her. Mm-hmm. And Theo heads promptly upstairs, where she enters the room. But
I think they see Abigail. Yeah, does she see Abigail at the bottom of the stairs? Is that?
I think Hugh and Steve saw Abigail at the bottom of the stairs when they first entered. That was at the very start of the show.
Oh, right. So, anyways, they all get in the red room, and each one of them has their own little, Inception dream.
Yeah,
of like how they're trying to be captured by the room, and then each one in turn is like it takes a dark turn, and then all of a sudden Nell shows up and saves them. Pretty much that's like what happens to each of them in turn, right?
I can't remember it out of order, but I can't recall exactly how that goes because I haven't reached that spot in my notes yet. But I can tell. I would like to go into the handsome man at the bar,
right?
Which is Shirley's kind of fucking her deep dark secret, which is Shirley had a moment with a dude at a bar for a mortician's like get together.
Yeah.
Where it was like
a convention.
Yeah, a convention. That's what it is. And this dude orders her a drink, and she orders him, some embarrassing appetizer.
There's like a meet cute. Like he orders.
What's up? What?
A meet cute? You don't know what that term is? It's like in a rom-com when they meet.
I'm annoyed with you right now.
Oh, it was just a big misunderstanding.
A meet cute? Like M-E-A-T or M-E-E-T?
M-E-E-T.
A meet cute.
Yeah, man. Got to get with the lingo. We're in the biz now.
What biz?
The movie industry.
We are?
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Man, we've interviewed, Freddy Krueger
and the rest.
Shut the fuck up.
It's like that part in The Simpsons where they envision, where they're like, however hot dogs are made, and there's all the tails of all these animals. Just like a raccoon and a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're part of the movie industry.
Mm-hmm. We're a parasite on the movie industry.
I've seen movies. So they have a meet cute.
Uh-huh.
And
you got it.
They flirt, and then the story goes on, but whoa, the story goes on into Shirley doing this guy.
Well, actually, the way it's shown is it shows Shirley turning him down.
Right. But that's not really how it goes. This is a show.
Yeah. And what actually happened is she went up to the room with him, and they fucked.
Yeah, they got powerful fucking done. Powerful. And
Can you get pre-gat from pre-cum?
well, mostly after the meeting, she had some questions about.
Can oo down a 20-foot water slide pregnant?
She wanted to know if she could go down some water slides pregnant.
Yeah, so she has this intense shame around this event, which kind of obviously makes her a gigantic hypocrite because she's judging her husband for almost getting kissed by Theo, basically.
Yeah. My next note is ridiculous. My next note says Theo's dream is having sex and talking about greenhouses.
I mean, it's not wrong.
I don't remember that at all. Talking about greenhouses. I'm so tired right now.
So, yeah, Theo...
Talking about greenhouses?
Theo is with her tatted up one-night stand / girlfriend.
Yes.
And they're being intimate, and she's relaying a story from her childhood where she had thrown a stone through this greenhouse that her mom had finished. Her mom is a architect, and she was really proud. And she was about to
That's right.
show it to the client because it was finished, and it was like a really big deal. And Theo threw a rock through one of the window panes, and her mom got really mad to the point where she spanked her. It was the only time that she ever used corporal punishment, and she basically said, I learned a lot about my mother from that moment, and I learned a lot about myself. And, it felt bad, but the sound of that window crashing was just too great. And then she talks about how she threw another one after that.
I'm so envious of kids who learned a lot from corporal punishment. I got wailed on continuously. It was like the fucking 8-month spankological protocol. It never ended. It was just whack. It never stopped. I just got spanked every goddamn day for doing a wide variety of horrible things. Stealing and hitting and being mean, biting, cursing.
Throwing rocks through greenhouses.
I don't think I ever threw a rock through a greenhouse. All our thing about greenhouses now is they all come with PVC plastic. Just heavy duty plastic. Although, but you can take a knife and you can slit that shit, and that's tantamount to throwing a rock through glass. Although it doesn't leave the mess. Anywho, did you get spanked a lot?
I got spanked a couple times. And
a couple times?
Yeah.
You like 20, 30 times?
Broke a lamp or something. Like it was a rare occasion, and it was more of just like a humiliation thing. Like,
oh, dude.
To where it wasn't like a constant thing.
Nothing attached to my emotions. It was just like physically harming my asshole.
Yeah, the other thing is that I was just
my butt.
I was also just a really good kid. Like, I never got in trouble, except for those rare occasions, which I really pissed him off.
What the fuck is that like?
It's pretty great.
Okay. So anyway,
I don't know why other people didn't do it more. Just be a good kid.
Just be good.
Just listen to your parents.
It's. I mean, to be honest with you, it's good advice. I wish my kids would do that. So as it turns out, at this point, we learn, like we said at the start of the episode, everybody has been to the Red Room a lot. The Red Room is everyone's favorite room in the house. As it turns out, they all think they can't get in, but in reality, it's where they spend their time doing their thing. So in Theo's case, it's the cha-cha. In Steven's case, I believe it's video games or something like that. And in Mom's case, in Liv's case, it's a reading room and yada, 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 yada.
Yeah, it was, what was it for Shirley? Shirley was the living room. Theo was his treehouse. And now I can't remember.
Yeah.
Is a tea room or something?
Yeah.
A playroom.
Probably. So at this point, we kind of we see the struggle happening with Liv's ghost, which is with the Mimi is telling Liv, hey, you gotta kill him. Come on, waste your family. I'll give you a beer. And
no, her name isn't Mimi. It's what's her name?
She's the flapper girl.
Yeah. I can't. Where's the names? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's the flapper girl from the 20s.
It starts with a P.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. She keeps telling Liv, she's like, hey, come on, waste your family. I'll give you a beer. And Liv, it makes sense to her to an extent because she is death, so life is hurt. Ow, life, ow. So she's got to save her kids from the pain of life. But at this point, Hugh gets into the Red Room, and then we kind of get a backtrack to the groundkeepers witnessing the death of Liv, and let's see here. We need to help.
Poppy is the name.
Poppy is the name of the flapper girl.
Yeah. So, like, a huge part of it is they are trying to revive Luke, because he's still foaming from the mouth on the floor.
Yes.
And we see from Luke's perspective, he like full on died. Like they're like losing him. And from Luke's perspective, he shows up in the kind of the tea room, and he sees young Nell and his mom and young Abigail all around the tea table. And she's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Like, finally, we've been waiting so long. And, just basically being heaven. Heaven is a little tea room with a couple little girls and your mom. I can see why Luke wasn't super enthused. But,
oh, you mean it isn't fucking heroin? This fucking blows. It's just rat poison tea?
Oh,
Jesus.
And then Nell shows up and snaps him out of it, and he comes back alive. And he's not doing great. He's still got rat poison in him, but then they're all together in the room. Everyone's like returned from their dream state. And then I think, is Hugh let in by this point, or no? It's just the kids, and then Nell shows up, and then she starts like speaking in, riddle, and she starts like, it's like a tape loop where it's like she's repeating herself, and then eventually.
Wow, you're recalling this much better than I am.
Really, you're not remember any of this?
I do remember parts of this. I don't remember her speaking in a tape loop.
Yeah, she's like saying, "Oh, I'm, things are all out of order," and like, no, and she's like answering questions that haven't been asked yet.
Yeah.
And then eventually gets to a point where it syncs up, and like she answers Shirley's question, and then it goes on basically the monologue that really states the moral to the story about this entire series, which is like all these, you think of time as a straight line of a beginning, middle, and end, and that it's actually just a series of, randomly occurring points in your life, and that you don't remember, and you live in, in different times, and that it's all about love, and everything else is confetti is the basic like ending line of it.
That's right.
And I'm kind of like glossing over it, but it's the most important part of the series for me. Right. Is like it really ties a nice bow over like the thesis statement of the whole show, and just saying like, this is what it's all about. This is what's important, and this is why,
which is what
it's about love, and your own relationships, and
yeah, but I'm trying to get my dick sucked over here.
Well,
it's less important, more about love. I don't know. Is it
more talking about siblings? But I mean, if that's your thing, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, how did you react to this the second time you've watched like the finale?
It made me it did the thing that so many things do now, which is it makes me very grateful for my kids, and it makes me worried about their future, and it also makes me hopeful, you know. It really, I mean, so I don't know. I've kind of come to embrace this thing, which is like, I guess it's like some sort of philosophy for me, but it's not like a well tied together philosophy. It's just this theory that I have, which is when things are bad, when things are terrible and not fun, and you're having a real bad time, that's the good part, kind of, because without that part, everything else loses all context and meaning, you know, like, so if you don't have any bads, you don't have anything to contrast anything against, and I mean, just a life full of nothing but good and fun is not fun at all. Mm-hmm. Because fun is meaningless without boredom or sadness or something like that. So I don't know. It kind of, it's affirming to me. And I don't know. What about you?
I mean, it's even more impactful now because, I mean, it's all dealing with, like, death and how people live on, and, you know, how it's not, they're not in the past, they're still with you, and we haven't even got to the part about the Dudleys, but yeah, I mean, I was in tears again. I mean, I was in tears the first time I watched it a couple years ago, but it's still just as impactful. It's pretty intense stuff, and I think about, you know, obviously my dad just died, and just think about my family and the love we share, and how that kind of transcends most of the miserable shit in life. You know, you can't save yourself from entropy. You know, stuff goes wrong. Nothing ever stays consistent. Things change. But as long as you love the people that you're with, it's worth it, I'm told.
Yeah, so we get to see kind of all these kind of loose ends tie up. We do get to see the Dudleys, who apparently got to kind of sort of almost witness Liv's death.
Yeah, so if you remember Abigail, their daughter,
right,
was basically murdered by Liv. And they arrive late, and they just understand the tragedy of it. You know, they're not even, it's kind of hard to process in the moment, but they see that their child had died, that they had tried to protect this whole time, and specifically not ever come in this house. Right. And the house still ate her up. And as they're crying, they see Abigail, you know, quote unquote alive as a ghost in the doorway, and they, you know, realize that she's still there in the house. And so Hugh is like, at the moment, he's like, I'm going to burn it down. I'm going to salt the earth and make like, this a desolate place. And
like, no, our daughter lives here. No,
yeah.
Don't you get it?
And the Dudleys are like, you can't do it. And they make a deal where they won't say anything to the authorities. Like, they won't make a big stink out of it. And like, no one's going to know really about Abigail because they kept her away from everyone.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, it's real fucked up. But also they can see her in the house.
But also,
kind of
also snitches get stitches. So, you know, shut the fuck up.
And so they make this deal with Hugh to not destroy the house just so that they can
see their daughter.
You know, at least have some kind of compromise and see their daughter that died.
Yeah.
And then the kind of ending of their story is that it shows them as really old, and Mr. Dudley is bringing Mrs. Dudley in right as she's dying into the house, and she's rejoined with her 2 daughters, the baby and Abigail.
Yeah, that's a dark fucking life for the rest of Mr. Dudley. Good.
Yeah, he's not going to live long. But
and then also, we get to see Shirley kind of get real with her husband, and Steve gets real with his wife, and so everybody's kind of tying up all the loose ends for this. So I have a question for you. What does the house represent in all of this? Do you have any theories about?
It's kind of a stand-in for the world. Like it's kind of contrasted, with Poppy saying, this is the, if you die, this is the real life, and what you're living in isn't a dream, and it's a nightmare. And, this is the life, and really it's the other way around, maybe. But they're both described they're both described as like being hungry and chewing up people and, killing people. So you send them out into the real world. The real world chews up people, uses them, and people are miserable, and they lead miserable lives. And you can lose your kids to all these influences. And then the house itself is hungry. Like it's described as like having a hunger and that's insatiable, and it also chews people up and uses people, and we're never really told why, but there's definitely.
I'm going to hone this a little bit more, I think. Just based on the stuff that you were saying, I have a little something to riff on, which is maybe the house stands for like our childhood house, like not necessarily your house or my house, but like your childhood with your parents, making it through that series of obstacles that are uniquely chewing, they chew you up in a certain way. They make you who you are. They fuck you around kind of. And then eventually you leave your parents' house and you end up in the real world where it just fucks you around another way, it like chews you up in another way. And maybe it's kind of something like that. I mean, that's basically kind of just building on what you were saying.
I mean, really what it's about is that there's evil in the world. There's evil, in the house that make people miserable and use people. And the only way that you can fight against it is with love and caring for others and sticking together and helping each other. Otherwise, you're on your own and you're going to get chewed up.
Yeah, and it's not very much fun being on your own all alone either. So it's worth it to, try and make the best of things with the people who you got around you.
Yeah.
So with that concludes our review of The Haunting of Hill House. I think we're going to have
the after show for Haunting of Hill House.
And we may have one more episode following this, just to kind of summarize our feelings. We might not. I don't know exactly.
Let's talk about it right now. Let's just say,
okay,
what are your overall feelings about Haunting of Hill House? I mean, I went into it knowing that it's one of my favorite horror properties, in the last decade, probably ever, and it still stands up completely. It's just as impactful as it was, several years ago, and I was just as scared and just as emotional throughout.
Just a really shocking thing about this show is how fucking scary it really is. Like, man, I'll never lose that scene where Luke is in bed and that man with the cane comes floating through. That fucks me up just to think of. I remember it so vividly. I remembered it from my first watching and down to just every detail of it. I was just like, oh, that's goddamn chilling. This show has really got some teeth on it.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the things that Mike Flanagan has done, which are all great, like this is kind of the masterpiece in my mind. This the crowning achievement of like what he's capable of. And I think it's
I agree.
It's a really great thing to watch. I mean, if you haven't, why are you listening to an aftershow? But yeah, it stands up. It's the reason why it's great is it's got a real emotional core. It goes to some real dark places in terms of, internal life and life with your family, but also very uplifting and encouraging in like the end message of like there is hope and we can help each other and love is worth it.
Yeah, I don't it's so weird to say that I don't think a lot of people right now really feel that way. I get the strongest feeling ever that that now there's a lot of people who I think have given up on others.
I think it's just it's like the show is kind of an allegory for it, because like that Liv loves her kids and that she would never want to hurt them, and that Luke doesn't want to kill himself, but the house blinds them to that or manipulates them. Yeah. And it's kind of that in real life, is that sometimes you're just blinded by hate or resentment or baggage, and you just focus on the wrong thing. You're not focusing on, what the reality is that we're all human. We're all trying. Like, there's no one that's a monster. And you just have to come at it from that perspective. And if you really know someone for who they are, it's kind of hard not to have empathy and not to like have a certain amount of care for them.
Yeah, I think the dangerous thing is to make snap judgments on people and then stick to it.
Yeah.
Not to ever question your first inclination, and to just go, they're a terrible person. Judge, jury, and executioner, they're done.
Yeah. When you think about, there's definitely bad people. There's narcissists and sociopaths and stuff, but even then, you're like, if you realize who they are and how they became who they are, it's
very pitiful.
It's very pitiful, and you feel sorry for them, and you definitely have to put up walls and boundaries. Yeah, but you don't necessarily have to wish them ill.
No. Yeah. Yeah. This. I tell you what, though, in terms of if we're just looking at it in terms of looking at it for being a haunted house show.
Yeah.
Second to none.
Yeah.
Second to none. I think some of my very favorite haunted house movies are the Paranormal Activity, at least the 1 through 3 series, and this is as good as those.
Yeah.
Man, just a really great horror show.
Yeah.
That we don't get a lot of really great horror shows. Mm-hmm. People talk about The Walking Dead. It's not a horror show. There are horrifying parts within it.
Yeah.
But it is not.
And people talk about American Horror Story. I still haven't watched any of it, but I get the distinct impression that it's not this good. It's more.
It varies season to season. I remember watching maybe the first and second season and pretty. It kind of. I'll tell you what. It definitely leads you along a lot more. It's a lot of little
it feels
quick
like
hand jerk motions at your dick, and you're like, oh, okay, you wanna jerk me off, and it's like, no, I'm gonna run away now. I was like, okay,
yeah. So, anyways, I think the takeaway is that I still love it as much as I did before. It still holds up, and it will always hold up. I don't think we need to give it a score, but it was fun rewatching it and recording these after shows, and hope you guys liked it. Hope you stick around for the regular podcast episodes.
Yeah, which you can catch every single Wednesday. We do drop new episodes of our normal podcast every Wednesday, so make sure to subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. If you could do that, that would help us out a lot. Make sure to share the show with a friend and support us in any way you can by going to horrormovietalk.com and clicking on either one of the green links at the top of the page. Special thanks to Dustin Goebel, a professional artist who fucks ever so hard. He's also a professional artist who takes commissions for artwork from our fans, so make sure you contact him at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. And also, of course, a special thanks to Maxwell.R.Allen on Instagram, who did our intro music for this series. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or hate mail, make sure to address them to us by calling 682-253-4468. From there, you will be allowed to leave a voicemail, and you can tell us whatever's on your mind. Thank you so much for listening to our special after-show series on The Haunting of Hill House. We love you so much. You guys take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.